Police officer involved in brawl transferred. OPR probing incident. Newsroom. A police officer involved in a brawl in Georgetown has reportedly been transferred to another region, while the Guyana Police Force's Office of Professional Responsibility, OPR, investigates the incident. In a video that circulated on social media, the officer was seen punching a man on the road. Other officers, including a senior rank, attempted to defuse the situation, but the officer continued to strike the man. It is unclear from the video whether the citizen attacked the policeman before the brawl ensued. In an update on Friday, police headquarters announced that the officer was transferred with immediate effect as the probe progresses. What about the nation, Barrett? Mohammed's issues press statement. All Barrett seems to focus on these days is Mohammed, while neglecting his official responsibilities to this great nation. The government of Guyana is failing its people by squandering billions of dollars on corrupt deals, questionable business interests, and poorly executed infrastructure projects, all while ignoring the country's real issues. Roads and bridges are being constructed, yet some are already crumbling, and the nation's sovereignty is under direct threat from Venezuela. But Barrett is preoccupied with Mohammed. No clear message is being communicated to directly address the Guyanese people. Instead, we hear reports of soldiers being injured, surrounded by speculation, as videos of a Venezuelan military ship surface on social media. Citizens are left in uncertainty, worried about what will happen if the situation escalates. The government remains silent, failing to provide any real assurance. The lack of transparency is unacceptable. Citizens need to know where we stand, what actions are being taken, and how we will defend our country if this threat becomes a reality. Instead of investing in military preparedness and defense planning, the government issues weak statements and acts as if the border dispute will resolve itself. If something is being done behind the scenes, shouldn't the nation have the right to know? Citizens aren't asking for state secrets, they just need reassurance that we are capable of defending our country. But Barrett is focused on Mohammed. Meanwhile, the nation's oil wealth is being mismanaged, funneled into the pockets of a privileged few rather than being used to develop industries that would create long-term stability. We are taking foreign loans with $1 trillion budget. Crime is rampant, the healthcare system is in shambles, and the education sector continues to deteriorate. Corruption thrives at every level of government, draining resources that should be used to strengthen the economy, improve public services, and safeguard national security. If Guyana continues down this path, it risks economic collapse, territorial loss, and long-term instability. We have seen these scenarios play out in other countries, and the threat is very real. The Chinese are taking over Guyana, the Venezuelans are ready to attack and invade. It's time to weaponize the state against these threats, but Barrett is preoccupied with Mohammed. This nation continues to suffer while Barrett is solely focused on where Rudden Mohammed is, what he is doing, who he is meeting with, what he is wearing, and what he is driving. Perhaps if Barrett invested that much time in the nation's affairs, he would have found solutions by now. When you are in public office, it is your duty to serve the nation to the best of your ability. However, it is clear that you have outlived your usefulness to this country. Notorious fraudster remanded to prison. Fingered in a series of MMG-related frauds. For the past 4 years, investigators from the Criminal Investigation Department, CID, Major Crime Unit, and Cybercrime Unit have been actively probing a series of MMG-related frauds. These scams involve individuals impersonating MMG agents to deceive customers into revealing their one-time passwords, hacking into their accounts, and unlawfully transferring funds. Other notable scams include fraudulent rental apartment listings, house lot schemes, and motor vehicle sales. A key person of interest in these deceptive practices is known fraudster Muhammad Ali, whose modus operandi closely aligns with these activities. On Friday, March 29, 2025, Muhammad Ali contacted the virtual complainant, VC, Sheilon Whitney, who was in Suriname at the time, pretending to be an MMG agent. He claimed that the VC's account required an urgent update and convinced her to provide one-time passwords. Under the pretense of being an MMG agent, he managed to persuade the VC's 16-year-old daughter to share the OTP, which granted him access to the account and resulted in the unlawful transfer of $113,000. Shortly thereafter, Muhammad Ali arranged to meet the teenager, further convincing her that MMG was offering a promotion. They met at Stabroek Market, where she handed over an additional $625,000. Upon realizing they had been defrauded, the incident was reported to MMG, the Stabroek Market Police Outpost, and subsequently to the Cybercrime Unit. Acting on intelligence, police officers went to High Street, Georgetown, where they arrested Muhammad Ali. Several cellular phones were seized from his premises and later analyzed by the Cybercrime Unit, confirming their use in the commission of the fraud. An identification parade was conducted, during which the 16-year-old girl identified Muhammad Ali as the person who collected the money. CCTV footage was obtained showing the suspect in identifiable clothing at the scene. These items of clothing were later found in a suitcase at the suspect's premises and lodged as evidence, further corroborating the police investigation. Today, April 4, 2024, Muhammad Ali appeared at Georgetown Magistrates Court No. 3 before Magistrate Fabio Azor, where the charges were read to him. He pleaded not guilty and was remanded to prison. The next court date is set for May 16, 2025. Further investigations are ongoing, and additional charges are expected to be filed in connection with several similar incidents involving other victims. Former cop sentenced to 12 years for vicious machete attack on family. A former police officer, Sean Fordyce, has been sentenced to 12 years in prison for a brutal machete attack that nearly claimed the lives of his ex-wife and her children. The sentence was handed down on Tuesday by Justice Damone Young at the Demerara High Court following Fordyce's guilty plea to charges of attempted murder and felonious wounding. The horrific incident occurred on the night of August 1, 2013, in Turkian, East Coast Demerara. Fordyce's then-wife, Dorothy Fordyce, was preparing to leave her home with her children and grandchild when he confronted her, insisting she had no right to go. As she stepped outside, Fordyce threw dirty water on her and chillingly warned, "I gone, finish tonight." He then pulled a 20-inch cutlass from his waist and launched into a frenzied attack. Dorothy was struck multiple times, sustaining deep wounds to her shoulder, face, and head. Her daughter, Latoya Wilson, attempted to protect her child and was viciously slashed across the head, neck, back, and hands, while the toddler she cradled miraculously survived with minor injuries. Another daughter, 12-year-old Daulette Fordyce, was seriously wounded while trying to defend herself, with one injury nearly severing her wrist. Additionally, Wanda Fortune, who has since become a magistrate, was attacked while attempting to flee. She managed to escape her stepfather's violent rampage by running to a neighbor's house, bleeding profusely and clad only in her undergarments. Following the attack, Fordyce fled and evaded capture for more than 2 years, until he was apprehended on October 20, 2015. Even after his arrest, he attempted to interfere with the justice process by offering financial compensation to one of the victims in exchange for dropping the case. In her ruling, Justice Young emphasized the ferocity of the attack and its lasting impact, describing it as not just an act of domestic violence but a calculated attempt to murder an entire family. The judge noted that Fordyce used a deadly weapon and left multiple victims physically and emotionally scarred for life. While considering the time Fordyce had already spent in custody, Justice Young sentenced him to 10 years in prison for each of the 4 felonious wounding charges and 12 years for each of the 4 counts of attempted murder. However, the sentences will run concurrently, resulting in a total of 12 years behind bars. He was represented by defense lawyer Ronald Bostwick, while State Counsel Muntaz Ali appeared on behalf of the prosecution. Police investigating alleged murder of Blacka. GPF, police are investigating the alleged murder of Blacka, name given, a 28-year-old unemployed male of mixed ancestry who resided at the Kwakwani waterfront in Region 10. The tragic incident occurred on April 3, 2025, between 2200 hours HRS and 2215 HRS at the Kwakwani waterfront. Initial inquiries revealed that Daniel Hartman, the 24-year-old suspect, is the owner of a wooden house elevated approximately 2 feet above ground. Daniel Hartman and his 28-year-old brother, Nicholas Hartman, lived in the house. In August 2024, Daniel Hartman left home to work in Georgetown, leaving his brother behind. On April 3, 2025, around 2200 hours HRS, Daniel returned home to find his brother and Blacka at the house. Daniel inquired about Blacka's presence, and Nicholas explained that they were friends and he had allowed Blacka to stay with them while he looked for a job. An argument ensued between Blacka and Daniel over Blacka staying at the house. During the dispute, Nicholas left the home and went further down the street. About 15 to 20 minutes later, he returned to find Blacka lying in a pool of blood on the floor with a knife beside him. Nicholas then reported the incident to the police. Officers responded and discovered Blacka lying on his back in a pool of blood in the hall, with a knife nearby. He was transported to the Kwakwani Hospital complex, where he was examined by Dr. Aker but was later pronounced dead. An examination of the body revealed several wounds on the lower back and chest. The body has been taken to the Kwakwani mortuary, awaiting a post-mortem examination. Acting on information, police contacted Daniel Hartman at the Kwakwani waterfront, where he was informed of the allegations. He was arrested and cautioned. Daniel admitted to the claims, stating that he and Blacka had a confrontation regarding Blacka's refusal to leave the house, which escalated into a scuffle during which he stabbed Blacka with a knife. Daniel Hartman has since been placed in custody. Investigation is ongoing. AFC/APNU focused on negotiating political positions rather than national development, PPPGS. The Alliance for Change, AFC, and the People's National Congress/Reform, PNC/R, have come under sharp criticism for their obsession with negotiating political positions instead of developing policies for national advancement. Vice President and General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, PPP, Dr. Bharat Jagdeo, expressed his disdain for the party's approach during a news conference on Thursday. For context, the AFC released a statement on Sunday announcing that it has approved conditions for a coalition following a special meeting of its National Executive Committee. In that statement, the AFC reiterated its commitment to Nigel Hughes as the presidential candidate and proposed a 60-40 power-sharing split, with 60% of positions in the coalition government to be held by APNU representatives. They don't have a pathway to winning the election, but already they are talking about how they will split up jobs, Dr. Jagdeo remarked as he addressed the issue. He emphasized that a responsible political coalition should first establish a shared vision for the advancement of Guyanese, including priorities like economic growth, healthcare, race relations, and foreign affairs, before deliberating on a power-sharing arrangement. Instead, the AFC and the PNC-led APNU appear fixated on ousting the PPP/C administration from power. They do not care about the people. They do not talk about housing, water, external affairs, or generating wealth. They are preoccupied. All their concern has been, for several months now, about who gets what, Dr. Jagdeo stated. In conclusion, the PPP General Secretary described the AFC-PNC coalition talks as both tragic and interesting, arguing that their lack of vision for development illustrates why they continue to fail in government. Wortmanville man charged with 48 counts of bank fraud. Accused of defrauding couple of $36,444,000 from their bank account. Shemaiah Ryan, known as Banker, a 23-year-old unemployed resident of Bent Street, Wortmanville, Georgetown, was arrested by police on March 31, 2025, and charged today, April 4, 2025, by a detective from the CID's fraud squad with the following offenses. A. 25 counts of simple larceny, contrary to Section 164 of the Criminal Law, Offenses, Act, Chapter 801, amounting to $4,829,000, committed against Bernadette Peterkin and Carl Peterkin. B. 23 counts of conspiracy to commit computer-related fraud, contrary to Section 22B of the Cybercrime Act No. 16 of 2018, amounting to $31,615,000, committed against Bernadette Peterkin and Carl Peterkin. The accused appeared at Georgetown Magistrates Court No. 3 before Magistrate Fabio Azor, where the charges were read to him. He pleaded not guilty and was placed on $50,000 bail for each count, totaling $2,400,000. the matter was adjourned to May 16, 2025, for a report. Bernadette Peterkin and Carl Peterkin are joint savings account holders at a local bank. They have never applied for or been issued ATM cards, nor have they signed up for internet banking. On September 2, 2022, the accused conspired with others to create a national identification card in the name of Carl Peterkin using his personal information. This individual then visited the local bank, name withheld, at its Camp Street branch, presented the fake ID, and impersonated Carl Peterkin, where he requested an ATM card and enrolled in internet banking. The accused then reached out to Donna Edwards and her daughter Chelsea Edwards, whom he had known for several years, claiming to be a contractor involved in government road projects in Burbus and that he lacked the time to withdraw money from the bank in Georgetown to pay his workers promptly. He requested Donna and Chelsea Edwards to transfer funds to their accounts, which he would then withdraw and collect from them, and they agreed. Between September 2, 2022, and September 19, 2022, on 13 occasions he transferred $17,997,000 from Bernadette and Carl Peterkin's account to Chelsea Edwards' account via internet banking. Additionally, between September 7, 2022, and September 27, 2022, on another 13 occasions he transferred $13,618,000 from Bernadette and Carl Peterkin's account to Donna Edwards' account via internet banking. Chelsea Edwards and Donna Edwards withdrew the cash and handed it over to the accused. During the period from September 2, 2022, to September 30, 2022, on 27 occasions, the accused visited various ATM locations in and around Georgetown, where he used the ATM card and withdrew $4,829,000 from Bernadette Peterkin and Carl Peterkin's account. He was captured on CCTV during these ATM withdrawals. Total amount defrauded, $36,444,000. Jagdeo states Teleperformance attributes location closure to lateness and absenteeism among local workers. By news source Guyana, Vice President Barrett Jagdeo has revealed that Teleperformance has cited lateness and absenteeism among the reasons for the closure of one of its operations in Guyana. Teleperformance, one of the largest call center companies in the country, recently closed its location at Robb and Camp Streets in Georgetown, resulting in more than 800 layoffs over the past 6 months as the company faced a significant number of client withdrawals. During a press conference on Thursday, Vice President Jagdeo mentioned that Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh is expected to meet with Teleperformance and other businesses in the business process outsourcing (BPO) sector to gain a deeper understanding of their challenges. Jagdeo stated that a preliminary report from Teleperformance indicates that issues such as absenteeism and punctuality are critical factors in their decision to shut down operations. I asked Ashni Singh what they were being told, and he said that they discussed absenteeism, lack of punctuality, and a few cases of fraud, but primarily absenteeism and lack of punctuality. They operate in a highly competitive sector, with clients overseas. If no one is present, maintaining the quality of service becomes impossible, said Jagdeo. He noted that there appears to be a trend of local workers seeking employment in other industries and sectors. Since last August, at least 5 of Teleperformance's major clients have terminated their contracts with the company. Consequently, as these contracts were lost, employees connected to those clients were laid off. In total, between August 2024 and February 2025, the company laid off more than 800 staff members. Jagdeo emphasized that the upcoming meeting with the finance minister and BPO companies would provide the government with a clearer understanding of the challenges these businesses face and the number of workers likely to be impacted. For those who are generally affected and seeking employment, we will engage with the Guyanese people. We believe that the economy is growing sufficiently to offer alternative employment for those who may be affected in this area. We are addressing this issue because anything that impacts our people necessitates our obligation to respond, the vice president stated. The call center industry in Guyana has been experiencing a slowdown over the past year. Notably, another major player in the industry, ITL, completely ceased its operations in Guyana last year, resulting in the layoff of over 400 workers. It cited rising operational costs in Guyana as the reason for its decision to exit the market. Police investigating death of 20-year-old Wismar resident Kenroy Bradford. 3 persons in custody. GPF, police in Region 10 are investigating the alleged homicide of Kenroy Bradford, known as Kelly, a 20-year-old laborer residing at Lot 314 Block 22 Wismar Linden. The incident occurred at approximately 0:05 HRS today, April 4, 2025, at 5 Corner Mackenzie, Linden. The scene was visited by the commander of Region No. 10, Assistant Commissioner Curly Simon, Deputy Commander Region No. 10, Deputy Superintendent Austin, Detective Sergeant Lane Burgess, a crime scene rank, and a team of police officers. Initial inquiries revealed that at the time of the incident, Bradford was with Andrew Jacobs and Anthony Jacobs, both residents of Block 22 Wismar, at the Blazing Shop at 5 Corner Mackenzie, where they were consuming alcohol. During this time, Anthony Jacobs approached a 29-year-old female bartender, who was with 20-year-old Cyrus Jacobes and 4 others, all of whom are from Block F, Christianburg, Wismar, Linden. Cyrus became irate and pushed Anthony away, which sparked an argument between the 2 parties. Cyrus and his group then left the shop and went to the parapet at 5 Corners, followed by Anthony and his friends, where the confrontation continued. Allegedly, Jacobs and his group began throwing beer bottles at Cyrus and his friends. A brawl erupted between both groups in the parking lot of 5 Corners, during which Cyrus reportedly armed himself with a knife and stabbed Anthony Jacobs in the abdomen, causing him to collapse. Andrew Jacobs attempted to pull Anthony away from Cyrus, sustaining a cut to his finger in the process. The fight continued to escalate, involving both sides in the melee. After the altercation, Andrew noticed that Anthony was bleeding and, with the help of a public-spirited citizen, rushed him to the Linden Hospital complex. Cyrus and his group then left the scene. Witnesses who were nearby observed Kenroy Bradford on the ground and contacted the police. When officers arrived, they received information and conducted checks in Dakama Circle, Mackenzie, leading to the arrest of Cyrus, whose clothing was stained with what appeared to be blood. Upon arrival at the Mackenzie police station, it was noted that Cyrus had injuries to his back and a cut on his left ear. He was subsequently taken to the Linden Hospital complex for medical attention, where he was treated and later released into police custody. At the crime scene, officers found Kenroy Bradford motionless in a crouching position against the back of a white Premio motor vehicle bearing registration number PH 1750. The body of the deceased was transported to the Linden Hospital complex, where Dr. London pronounced him dead on arrival. The body has been transferred to J. Jetsko Funeral Home, awaiting a post-mortem examination. Meanwhile, Anthony Jacobs has been admitted to the hospital, with his condition reported as critical. Currently in custody are Cyrus Jacobes, Tiffany Fico, and Andrew Jacobs. Investigations are ongoing. Government to open doors for small businesses in the oil and gas sector, VP Jagdeo. The government plans to create investment opportunities for small Guyanese businesses to participate in the burgeoning oil and gas industry, Vice President Dr. Barrett Jagdeo announced. Speaking with reporters at a news conference on Thursday, Dr. Jagdeo, who serves as the General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, PPP, stated that the administration has already identified 3 major initiatives within the oil and gas sector that can be tailored to benefit small investors. As part of this initiative, the government will create investment vehicles with entry points as low as GYD $50,000 to GYD $100,000, allowing smaller enterprises to share in the nation's prosperity while excluding larger corporations from these specific opportunities. It is a significant initiative that we are discussing. We have had intense discussions on this for a while, and it will be one of the key issues moving forward, he explained. To further support the development of small businesses, the government will streamline the process of establishing a business by reducing bureaucratic hurdles. Additionally, adjustments to taxation for this sector will be examined, according to Dr. Jagdeo. Another key initiative involves increasing access to government contracts for small businesses, aiming to expand participation beyond the current thousands of new contractors. The PPP's plan for shared prosperity also includes initiatives focused on enhancing financial literacy and empowerment. Furthermore, the government plans to introduce measures that will guarantee returns on investments. We have already made it clear that people will receive future cash grants, which they can utilize in this way, because we want everyone in Guyana to have the opportunity to own something or get more for their money, Dr. Jagdeo emphasized. He noted that these initiatives will be detailed in the party's manifesto, which will be released to the public in the near future, ahead of the 2025 general and regional elections. Family of late fireman to file lawsuit against Georgetown Hospital over his death. By news source Guyana, the family of Vashon Manbod, a fireman who tragically passed away at the Georgetown Hospital 2 weeks ago while receiving treatment for injuries sustained in the May school fire, is taking legal action regarding his death. Frustrated with the outcome of an investigation into his care, the family is seeking accountability and answers. Initially, the Georgetown Hospital reported that systemic errors were found in the care provided to Manbod, but subsequently declared there was no medical negligence or wrongdoing by its staff. The family criticized the hospital's statements, asserting that they exhibit a bureaucratic detachment disguised in clinical terminology, with accountability being obscured. They demand clarification on the systemic errors the hospital acknowledged during the investigation into Manbod's death. The family questioned how the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, GPHC, could reconcile its own admission of systemic errors with their conclusion of no negligence. They argue that systemic failures contributing to death are not mere oversights. They are actionable issues that should lead to accountability in a just society. Particularly troubling for the family is GPHC's assertion that Manbod's death resulted not only from his injuries but also from an alleged underlying chronic disease. The family maintains that there is no documented history of any chronic illness in Manbod's medical records prior to his admission, raising concerns that this statement is an attempt to mitigate liability. Additionally, the family expressed outrage at GPHC's public disclosure of findings from an autopsy conducted on Manbod without a finalized medical certificate of cause of death. They argued that the preliminary report from the state pathologist and its mention on the death registration form do not constitute a legal death certificate and thus lack conclusive legal standing. In their statement, the family referenced Guyana's medical ethics framework, specifically the Code of Ethics Regulations, 2008, which mandates that medical practitioners keep patient information confidential, even post-mortem, unless consent is given. They stress that no such consent was provided and that the hospital failed to communicate with the family prior to releasing the autopsy conclusions. There was no legal obligation, no public health emergency, and no moral justification for GPHC to publish autopsy conclusions that had yet to be finalized, they said. This disclosure was not made in the interest of transparency. It was a calculated act meant to redirect public perception and silence our quest for answers. Despite the hospital's claimed commitment to openness, the family has not received the investigative report and learned details about their loved one's death from local media rather than from the hospital itself. They believe Manbod's death highlights a systemic failure characterized by a lack of accountability, and that it could have been prevented with proper care for the injuries he sustained while serving in the Guyana Fire Service. The family is calling for public support as they prepare for their legal battle against the Georgetown Hospital. They have set up a GoFundMe page to assist with legal costs. Additionally, contributions can be made via the mobile money transfer number 6186168. No need to panic. Government to engage U.S. administration on imposed tariffs on exports, VP Jagdeo. In light of the announcement of a 38% reciprocal tariff on Guyana, Vice President Dr. Barrett Jagdeo indicated on Thursday that there is an opportunity for engagement with the United States, U.S. administration to negotiate a reduction of this tariff percentage. On April 2, 2025, U.S. President Donald J. Trump revealed reciprocal tariffs on imports from approximately 90 nations, including Guyana. In his announcement, President Trump stated that these taxes are essential to address the trade deficit between the U.S. and other countries. Speaking at a press conference, Dr. Jagdeo explained that the reciprocal tariffs target countries that export more to the U.S. than they import. He reiterated that this policy did not come as a surprise to Guyana, given that President Trump had outlined his economic policies during his campaign. However, the vice president pointed out discrepancies between the U.S. trade data and the data provided by Guyana to the United Nations global trade platform, Comtrade. For example, U.S. trade data for 2024 indicates that Guyana exported $5.5 billion to the U.S. while importing only $1.3 billion, resulting in a $4.1 billion trade surplus. Conversely, Guyana's records show a surplus of $800 million. In light of this discrepancy, Dr. Jagdeo stated that Guyana would seek further clarification from the U.S. There is still room to discuss a lot of these issues with the United States of America, to clarify any differences in the data on which the calculations were made, which hopefully can result in a lower tariff, because the United States has already made it clear that every country in the world will have to pay, he said. The vice president noted that the trade surplus is largely driven by Guyana's oil exports, which have risen since 2020. It's important to mention that ExxonMobil and Hess Corporation, both U.S. oil giants, are the majority stakeholders in petroleum operations in Guyana, meaning that a significant portion of the revenue from these exports ultimately benefits those companies. Dr. Jagdeo asserted that Guyana can make a case for lower tariffs, given the U.S. corporate presence in the country's expanding petroleum sector. We still need to work closely with the U.S. government on the numbers to determine their applicability in our case. Clearly, we would like to point out to the U.S. that we have important data showing that we import far more from them than what is reported, he stated. Support for local businesses. Importantly, Dr. Jagdeo reaffirmed the government's commitment to safeguarding local businesses and jobs while maintaining diplomatic relations with the U.S. administration. We will be meeting with them and working with them to ensure that our businesses can continue to access the U.S. market and other global markets, he confirmed. Politicization. Meanwhile, as opposition factions attempt to politicize this trade policy, the vice president clarified that this is a global U.S. policy. He noted that the government was aware this policy was forthcoming but was waiting to assess its final structure. Yes, we have a strong partnership with the U.S. government, but this is part of their strategy to rebalance trade, and it applies to everyone around the world, Dr. Jagdeo emphasized, stressing that there is no need to panic.